Oh, this is just so good. I can't deal with this. This is crazy. This is crazy. Absolute insanity. This is crazy. What a freaking cliffhanger. It's the Great Resonance. I call for an inquest. I volunteer as tribute. Oh my gosh, insane. That is insanity. So shocked by the end of this book. So good. Welcome to my new apartment. I tried to match my outfit with the book, but I only had hot pink sticky notes and it really ruins the whole aesthetic. So where I used to film, it was just facing my backyard, but now I'm literally facing a parking lot. Hello to all my new neighbors. I already have a video about Scythe. It's so rare that the second book is better. If you've been like lost in your reading life for a while, this is the way to get back into it. I was so hooked. Goodbye if you don't want to be spoiled, and you do not want to be spoiled. Oh my gosh, okay. Pull it together. Goodbye for the non-spoilers. Okay. Scythe Anastasia has really come into her own. She's made the decision that when she decides to kill people, she is going to give them a month to sort of get their affairs in order and say their goodbyes, which a lot of the Scythes think is really inhumane. They're like, why give them the knowledge beforehand of what's going to happen to them? Quicker is better. And in their world, there's definitely like merit to that argument. But then we see all these people like thanking Anastasia for this time and to figure out how they want to die, which is, it's rough to get through and to see some of the things that they choose. One of them wanted to go out like James Bond, basically, but then there's like kind of a good side to it where this woman was able to have her daughter move up her wedding so she could be there. But it has caused a lot of attention to go on to Citra. And the Thunderhead even knows this. I love the snippets we get from the Thunderhead because it's so weird that it's a machine that's completely conscious. It said that once Citra was placed under Scythe Faraday for her apprenticeship, her chances of changing the world increased 100-fold. And that her actions are going to directly affect literally everyone. We get this new character, Grayson Tolliver, who I wasn't super into at first. He's a student at the Nimbus Academy and the Thunderhead is his best friend. This guy named Agent Traxler comes to him and basically says, the Thunderhead knows that two Scythes are going to get attacked and you shouldn't tell them about it, wink wink. The Thunderhead is not allowed at all to meddle with the Scythe world, but it's pretty clear the Thunderhead wants him to go and warn these two Scythes. If he gets caught, he's permanently expelled from this academy that would lead to his dream job. But because he knows that this is what the Thunderhead wants him to do, he's gonna do it, and he goes and jumps in front of Citra and Scythe Curie's car. So Grayson manages to save their lives, but then when he wakes up in the hospital later, he's been marked as unsavory, which is basically a person who has been cut off from the Thunderhead. And for the most part, it's like you're a criminal, but without doing anything bad most of the time. The Thunderhead trying to fulfill this human need for rebellion. Tiger is back in this book, and now he's been taken in by Scythe Rand. She's very vague about like, this is your apprenticeship, and is kind of dancing around this idea of him becoming a Scythe. But Tiger is so sure that he's gonna be a Scythe, and he just doesn't think twice about it. That's like kind of his whole character, is that he isn't particularly smart. And the fact that this Scythe has taken him in and has started training him and is being really vague about all the details does not worry him at all. Speaking of Scythes who are supposed to be dead, Scythe Faraday is doing some research and he goes and talks to this librarian named Munira who used to be an apprentice, and it's so interesting that when she got turned down, she wanted to be the librarian of all the Scythe stuff because she wanted to be more important to the Scythedom than the Scythedom was to her. I have like a weird feeling about this character though, like I don't know what it is. Part of me thinks she's gonna like full on betray them at some point. Like there's just so much about her character that we just don't get. So Scythe Constantine, who we don't really trust that much, has been put in charge of figuring out who is trying to kill Scythe Curie and Scythe Anastasia. And he says it's really likely that Maria is the target and not Citra. But we don't exactly understand why. It's just more likely that someone's gonna go after a Scythe who's been at it a while than Citra, who just became a full Scythe. We get to see more of this world of the Unsavories when Grayson is pretty much put on a mission undercover by Agent Traxler, and he finds this girl named Purity at a restaurant where they pretend to break out of prison. And it's like to satisfy that need of some people to go against the norm and go against what is accepted in society as like safe and lawfully good, like that type of thing. And he sort of really likes this girl, even though he has grown up very by the book, and he chooses an unsavory name, Slade. But when he goes back to talk to Agent Traxler, he finds out that Agent Traxler has been gleaned There's like no record of him working with Agent Traxler on this. There's nobody else knows that he's undercover. It's like Grayson Tolliver has disappeared and he's been marooned on this island of unsavories that nobody knows to save him from. That is horrifying. And like no one's gonna believe him because he's an unsavory. We get to learn a little bit more about the Tonus in this book. They're so interesting. I picture this like some sort of church slash a cult slash a sort of monastery, because a lot of them live there, but also they're waiting for the resonance. It's very like interesting how these characters have decided to separate themselves from this world of perfection and Thunderhead oversight. Even though the Thunderhead still watches them and stuff like that, they have their own set of behaviors that they find acceptable. Okay, so Rowan is captured. He's brought to Tiger, and Tiger is like, the reason you're here is because I need a sparring partner. Boy, do you not realize that this is about more than you. At that time, I thought it was just to kill Rowan, turn him in, something like that. But oh no. No. I was very mistaken. Flash forward to another attempt on Scythe Curie's life. Grayson / Slade has been pulled into this conspiracy of the unsavories, and he's decided he's going to try to mess up this assassination without Purity knowing, because he kind of likes her a lot. This attack is going to happen while Scythe Anastasia is gleaning a guy on stage. She told him, like, her regular, you have a month to live, figure out what you want to do for your death, and he's like, I want you to kill me on stage, because he's really into Shakespeare and he's going to be playing Caesar, and Caesar dies in the play anyway, but he's like, actually kill me. Like, it's cringy. It's cringy. It's meant to be cringy, but yikes. They're getting ready to go, and I just absolutely love Scythe Curie. Citra is like, why are you here to watch? Like, this is already super uncomfortable. I wouldn't dream of missing my protege's theatrical debut. Citra also knows, like, underneath that Scythe Curie really doesn't trust Constantine to stop any attack on Anastasia. And Grayson, he wasn't filled in on all the details of this plan, so it's very last minute where he realizes, like, these sprinklers are gonna go off, and the unsavories have put acid in the sprinklers that are going to kill everyone, including these two Scythes. And Grayson also knows that it must be a Scythe at the bottom of this whole plan. Like, the unsavories didn't go after this without some sort of direction. When Purity goes up on the stage and she's like acting like crazy, drunk off the violence, and is like waving this a saw, and before Constantine can kill Grayson, he shoots past him and kills Purity. Before Citra can get sprayed with the acid, one of the Blade Guard does jump in front of her and starts like burning and melting, and Constantine's eyes melt. It's very, very disgusting. And Grayson gets away, and he knows like these Scythes might be coming after him. He goes to the Tonus, and basically he's like, well, the Tonus are crazy, but at least I'm safe here. The big one here, the big twist. I was just in shock when we realized that the reason Tiger been training this whole time and that Scythe Rand has basically been taking care of him is that she was waiting for the right moment to switch Tiger's brain out with Scythe Goddard's. I knew they were very, very technologically advanced. I didn't make the connection that they could totally switch someone's brain with another body. So when that happened, I was floored, honestly. And like, I was a little bit confused if part of the facial features were also Goddard's, or if this is really just like Tiger with a different brain. I didn't quite catch it all. I kind of eventually figured it was Tiger with a different brain and not like some sort of Frankenstein, like Goddard's head and Tiger's body. It's so creepy because like Rowan knew. He's like, I'm looking at my friend, but that smile is Scythe Goddard's. Like, it's evil. It's really evil. Meanwhile, in the library, Scythe Faraday and Munira have found this blind spot, like, intentionally created, like a place in the middle of the ocean that the Thunderhead can't see, doesn't know about, like is weirdly programmed to never have flights going over that area. It doesn't exist to the Thunderhead. And Scythe Faraday believes that this is where the Land of Nod is, this sort of backup program for if the idea of Scythes fails the world. We don't know what's there. What is the backup plan? What's supposed to be there? Like a program for the Thunderhead maybe? Like just insert more knowledge into it, or some sort of way to take down the Thunderhead, because it's kind of creepy that humanity is ruled by this artificial intelligence that is almost like their god, but also like a king. I think it's going to be some sort of way to break down the Thunderhead and also take down Scythe. So we figure out why people have been trying to kill Marie is because Xenocrates, their head Scythe of Mid-America, has been chosen to become a Grand Slayer. And this choice is supposed to be very, very secretive. The only person who should have known was Xenocrates. The theory here is that it got out that he was going to be the next Grand Slayer, and that would leave open the High Blade of Mid-America position, and Scythe Curie is a very good candidate for that position. And additionally, taking out Anastasia would be great because she has a lot of pull, especially among the young Scythes, and she's gained a lot of respect throughout her time, and they don't want her running around and gathering all these young Scythes to go with Scythe Curie and the old ways when like they are the most vulnerable to becoming part of this new age Scythe kind of territory. And so when it's time to choose who is going to be the next High Blade at their conclave, Scythe Curie is pretty much immediately recommended for the job. Scythe Goddard is recommended for the job, and someone's like, dude, Scythe Goddard died in a fire. Where have you been? And then out rolls Tiger/Goddard into conclave, and it is crazy. And people, they're like, okay, let's have a vote. And it's basically like the old guard, the people who care about the rules against the new age people. And Scythe Goddard is very charismatic. So like in theory, this is gonna be a close vote, even though it looks like Goddard just came back from the dead. And before the vote is cast, Anastasia comes in with a save. I call for an inquest. I volunteer as tribute. Anastasia makes this point that we can't vote for Scythe Goddard because when we go through our apprenticeship, we go through physical training. That's not his body. The only part that's there is like 7% of him. His brain is there. We can't make him High Blade. He's literally incapable of doing the job. Rhaenyra and Faraday have found the Land of Nod. It's a physical place. They had to go through all these hoops, and they went to the Library of Congress. The guy at the Library of Congress was like, we don't keep books. What? Faraday, like, where are the books? Wink, wink. And so they go down to this vault, they find the maps, they find this island that is not on any other maps, and it's called like the atolls. It's like toll, like kind of a nod to the Tonists. And the next book, The Toll, they hear the sound of the camera, and Faraday's like, we made a huge mistake because the Thunderhead was watching and listening this whole time, and now it knows that there's this place that it doesn't know about, and it's a blind spot, and it's really weird because the Thunderhead is now getting these emotions, and it's like, I feel betrayed by humanity. They didn't tell me everything. How am I supposed to take care of them if they don't tell me everything? It's very weird. It's like, I forgive them, but like, I feel rage, like, I feel wrath. Oh, it's scary. Like, it went from like creepy because of the brain transplant thing to like straight up scary, where you're like, we're gonna see what the wrath of an artificial intelligence looks like. Something that maybe would be able to turn off its emotions. Even though it does have positive emotion, because we see Grayson crying to the Thunderhead, being like, give me a sign that you haven't abandoned me. And the Thunderhead turns all the lights off. Like, I think in the whole world, or at least in that big region, and Grayson's eyes are closed and he doesn't see it, and it's sad, but it's also showing what it is to rely completely on technology for human connection. Is just, there is such a limit of what the Thunderhead can give people. I feel like this book has a huge emphasis on like what it means to be human, because if people don't die, if people are so dependent on technology, if they're not invested in things anymore because they just live forever, like what is being a human actually? And that I love that part. Like, I love it. It makes these books so interesting, but it's not just about that, because we also have the characters to follow, and that is so important. If this book was all theoretical, it would be so boring, but because we love these characters and we're so invested in their lives, the writing is just so good. So we go to this inquest. Both their arguments are strong, and we get this warning that if Goddard loses, it will be worse. Theoretically worse than him being High Blade, which would be very, very bad. Like, freedom to kill whoever type of bad. Like, what could be worse, honestly? But the Grand Slayers, they go and talk about it, they come back and they're like, we agree with Citra, like, you don't have your full body, like, it doesn't matter if the body is trained, because that's what Tiger was doing the whole time, was training this body for someone else to be Scythe. They're like, actually, you need to go through an apprenticeship again in order to become a Scythe. He's pissed, and at the same time, we're hearing about all these glitches happening throughout the island. The idea that this whole island could sink is starting to just be in the back of your mind. But on this island, like, tech glitches are kind of normal because the Thunderhead isn't in control. It's humans having to deal with this. And then there's this weird note about the glitches in the animals. So the animals are controlled by technology at this point, but it's not the Thunderhead's doing. But then we're like hearing about like the fish glitching and moving in these weird ways and then sort of collecting. It's gonna be Sharknado, like, and it's not freaking weird, like, it's scary. People are trying to save the Grand Slayers at this point. They're realizing, like, the water level between the main part of the island and this inner part where the Grand Slayers work, like, the bridges are gonna collapse, and they're trying to get them out of there. And they've turned off the alarms because there's so many tech glitches all the time that they don't want to deal with it. Absolute insanity. These collection of sea animals get into the Grand Slayer's chamber, like sharks, and start eating them. Like Xenocrates realizes, he's like, yeah, this is kind of the only way to take us out, is that you have to completely destroy the body. And Scythe Goddard flies in, he pretends he's gonna save them and pulls a Scar Mufasa move and just leaves them in this filling room of wildlife. And Xenocrates is like, they're not gonna eat me. He jumps in and drowns himself. So there's a chance he's coming back because the sharks might ignore that dead body because he wasn't bleeding at all. And Scythe apparently has her own plan because this entire island is gonna go down. Like, they are all going to die. And so she's like, I have a plan. She takes Citra and Rowan, who Rowan is not even supposed to, like, she's supposed to kill him on sight, basically. But she takes them and she shoves them into this, I'm picturing it like a vault. Like, Citra and Rowan realize, like, we are trapped in this box so that the sharks cannot kill us. And like their bodies will be revived. Like, they're going to drown, but their bodies are going to be able to be revived. But we get this note, it could be a year, 10 years, 100 years. This is crazy. What a freaking cliffhanger. What if the next book like picks up in 100 years and Scythe Goddard has been High Blade or like Grand Slayer forever and he's the, you know, the dictator of the Scythe. Like, this is gonna be so interesting. Oh my gosh. I mean, their families will probably still be there. Like, I was like, maybe their families won't be there because they'll be dead. No, all these people just live forever. In 100 years, it could be a totally different society with all these same people. That is insanity. And then we have this big redemption moment for Scythe Curie. For me, as a character, she had already redeemed herself because she realized that what she had done in her youth, she was not proud of anymore and she wanted to be different and she had achieved that difference. But she talks to all the other Scythes and they're like, we're all going down, like these sharks are going to eat everyone and make sure we can't be revived. Like, we're Scythes, let's do what we're meant to do. And so they start killing these people to keep them from the horror of being eaten alive. The Thunderhead is watching from a distance. It can't intervene because it's a Scythe thing. And so it said the Thunderhead screamed, which means like every electronic ever in the world goes off at once. The Tonists are freaking out because they're like, it's the Great Resonance, and everyone else is like, what is happening? And then once it's over, everybody starts checking their status with the Thunderhead. They're like, what the heck happened? They're all unsavory. And the only person who is not unsavory, who the Thunderhead is talking to, is Grayson. He's gonna be like one of our leaders in the next book, and like who knows how old he's gonna be. This is crazy. This is crazy. 12 out of 10, 6 out of 5, however I usually rank these things. I feel like I didn't even cover everything. Like, there's just so much happening. I'm so excited to read The Toll. Like, these are also super, super good audiobooks. If you like want to reread, like, listen to it, because the guy who narrates this, he can do all the different accents from all these sides all over the world, and it's just so fun. And he does such a good Goddard voice. It's so good. What did you think of this? Let me know in the comments. Did the sharks freak you out? My name's Katelyn. Thank you for watching. Bye.